Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And today, I have been in my thoughts. I have been spending the day with myself, just doing little things around the house, made myself a beautiful dinner, right? Just got out of the shower, all ready for my evening, right? Ready to shut down this day, go to sleep, wake up refreshed, and start it all over again. A lot of people would think that would be mundane, right? Some people would just think that's just I don't know, a waste of time. Investment in yourself, right? Investment in myself is not a waste of time. And a lot of times, I search out the answers out there. I look for people that I might resonate with, and I take in different perspectives. And sometimes those perspectives hit home and feel like home and feel wholly familiar to me. Sometimes, more often than not, it's a idea. It doesn't make it any less true because I believe that, if you think about it, it is realized, and you have to give that respect to all these different ideas out there that are looking to make, I don't know, it's not make the human race more of a community, because I think we're always steering in that direction. But it is in the opportunity and in the potential that, right, that as we bumble along, we'll get to meet people that kind of move like us, think like us, live like us. And that's a tall order because, in truth, right, there is no two alike, right? There is no two alike. This week, we got an amazing word. We got this word willingness, right? Whoops. We got this word willingness. I'm just trying to cut out that jar of peanut butter. It was just residue of my dinner breakfast that I had tonight. I made sausages and eggs for dinner tonight, and it was absolutely amazing. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I don't need the remnants sticking around during my live show. It's not professional, right? But then again, you know, I don't show up here professionally. I hate to say that because I do show up with the lessons if at all possible. I do at least show up with the opener to possibility of having an open discussion about, I don't know, is it life in general? Is it that little bit of movement that we make in a direction that we have no idea is going to land us in a destination? It's just movement, and we're all moving in different we're all moving in different directions, right? But moving in different directions affords us different lessons. And if we are a part of a community, right, if we are part of something bigger, if we are, right, part of that village, and that's our role, that direction that we're going in, those lessons we're picking up along the way, that we're able to actually come home to that community and contribute in a way that would be beneficial for everybody, whether that community is just small, if it's just in your own family or in your small group of friends, right? Maybe you belong to clubs or, right, school classes, different networks. We do live in a digital age, right? That we are easily able, well, we should be easily able to fit in places where we do have commonalities, right? The very least, I think that we should be willing, right? And we had this word last week, right? Perspectives, to take on different perspectives. And we should be willing to do that in order, right, to get out of those, I don't know, those ditches that we sometimes find ourselves stuck in, right? Sometimes it's a just a snow ditch. Sometimes it's a pothole, right? But sometimes we find ourselves just at the very bottom of something we don't understand, right? It's the way I found my way here. Found myself somewheres, right? In a great big hole in my life that I didn't see a way out of. And I didn't cry out for help, but somehow things came across my path. And in my choices and in the opportunities that those things that came across my path afforded me, I munched onto it. I reached out for what I thought in the moment was a lifeline. And I went into it with a willingness to try something, to try anything, right? Because nothing that I seemed to be doing seemed to make a difference, seemed to be working. I was this close to losing my brand. In fact, I came this close to losing the roof over my head out of pure stubbornness, out of pure, well, I think it was in that hole that I had dug myself, that state of mind that it put me in when I had gotten that low, right? They say, you got to hit rock bottom before we actually, right, just give ourselves a kick in the butt and, right, just say, I can't take one more moment of living this way. And lots of times, right? More often, I would say, right, than not, we'll have that great big idea, that great big realization, wake up call. But if we don't move into it, right away, we can talk ourselves out of doing anything, right? Next thing you know, we're on the couch with the remote control, or we got the game controllers in our hands, or we're looking at it. The exact same problem where just a few moments ago we might have had a possible solution. And because we're talking ourselves out of it, right? And because we adapt and conquer and we find another way, we start searching for another way, right? Instead of taking that action and trying and seeing if it will work, right? Being willing to fail in that, being willing to just crash and burn and look like a dummy or look like, right? I have moved so much in the past few years. I'm not going to say that it was comfortable, right? I sifted through a lot of stuff. And a lot of stuff I ran with for quite a while, right? Thinking that I was on the right track, right? That I was on the right track when I was just running with perspectives, right? Like kind of throwing spaghetti up against a wall and seeing what sticks. But that was better than what I was doing. That was better than the crash. That was better than this coming this close to being homeless. I was willing. I had crashed so low that I had gotten myself to the point where I was willing to do anything just to alleviate the struggle, to alleviate the pain, to alleviate that scariness that I had gotten myself into, right? My own, right? I did it myself. And, I could beat myself up for that. But in those ashes, right, seemed like there was a little bit of a resurrection in that, right? Like I said, things come across our paths for a reason. I had hit rock bottom. I was willing to try anything, right? I'd come in within 24 hours of becoming homeless, right? I had started a job that every day, and this was going on during COVID, every day I came home expecting that the doors to my apartment were going to be locked because I couldn't afford to pay my rent. I was locked down, not working, right? I was so scared and I was so alone. There's a difference. I wasn't lonely. I didn't want to drag anybody into that misery that I was in, right? I knew I had to do in the very beginning I knew I had to do it on my own, right? I move through kindnesses and my own steam. And I'm grateful, right? That when I had no steam left, like zero steam left, I was laying there, right? Just laying there, waiting for it to be over, right? And a kindness came across my path, an opportunity to make a choice. And that rope, in that moment of desperation, it was a lifeline. It felt like a lifeline. It gave me some optimism, right? To just keep moving, to adapt, to conquer, to find another way. And it was scary, right? For a couple of months, I truly, truly thought that I was just going to be lost to it all, that I was going to be one of those people that were pushing shopping carts down back alleys looking for pop bottles or beer cans, right? And I don't believe that it would have gotten to that point. But something or something wanted me to have that experience of what it would feel like, that desperation. Mentorship came across my path. I clung to it with, right, for my dear life. I followed every instruction, right? And I wasn't going to sit back, right? I wasn't going to put all my force into it for 1 or 2 days, right? And then just give up on that, right? Somebody was willing to give me a hand, right? In pulling myself out, not to do it for me, but to give me an opportunity to do it for myself. I got some mentorship, right? Got to the point where, right, I could stand on my own 2 feet, right? I avoided that catastrophe of becoming homeless by 24 hours. It was a it was a miracle. It was a miracle. It was the evidence that I needed to see, that I needed to feel that everything was going to be okay. And at that point, I was willing to try, right? If there was an opportunity to make some movement, if there was, right, something that I could do to better my situation, I was going to do that. And I heard about service. It was strange how it came across my path. But I picked up those lessons and right, I tried it out. And I noticed that, people responded to me a little bit differently. That idea that when I was growing up, my dad and mom used to say all the time, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. I took that to heart, right? when I got those lessons. And even though that I felt that my life could crumble at any moment and I could find myself in that same situation, right? I had a little bit of optimism, things were going to start to get better, right? But I was still in my limiting beliefs. But I needed to hold on to something, right? There had to be something out there that I could stand on, right? To get me, right? I don't know, a little bit off the ground, a little bit, right? Out of the muck, right? A little bit above what was not working for me. And I did that. And I did that, you know, I have to say on my own because I searched out the lessons. I searched out, right, the mentors and the teachers that would work out for me, right? The lessons that would work out for me. And then I stuck with those lessons, right? Just working with them in the baby steps because, right, I wasn't fully willing to give up the ship. Like I wasn't willing to go all in. Hello, Nancy dear. I know that's you with the hearts, right? But I wasn't willing to expand out of what I was doing, what I was thinking, what I was believing, what I was holding on to as a truth, right? Took some lessons. It took some lessons for me to be willing to be willing, right? Willing to let go of some of those ideas. Thank you, Nancy. Oh, my goodness. Thank you for the flowers and the hearts. I hope you had an amazing Easter. I saw the new baby that joined the household. You got twins now. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Right? It's nice to see you smiling. I love to see those pictures that you post with the big smiles, Nancy. We need to keep that. We need to keep that going, right? We need to keep that going. That willingness. That willingness. Yesterday we talked about it. But today I thought that willingness to try, that willingness to expand, right? A little bit past ourselves, a little bit, right? Staying soft in the process, being willing to stay soft in the process when really you want to armor up and build walls and, right? Right? Sit on the couch with the remote control, that comfy zone that has no movement, but it feels comfy and it feels safe. But it feels safe for me in the moment, right? But if I'm not making movement, right, in what I believe in, then maybe, right, down the road, it might not be so safe, right? It might not be so safe. It's in our choices, right? It's in our choices. And because I believe in majority, because I know majority, right? You can't help but move with majority. That day and age where dictatorship is all ruling, it's coming to an end because, well, we've moved forward, right? We truly have moved forward. Creating the best human being requires us to move forward. It requires us to be willing to try to move forward. We have all been too comfy in all of this, right? Even in myself, even in those limiting beliefs, even when in those most difficult times, right? Those were my choices. Those were my lack of choices That was me spending too much time on the couch with the remote control. Grateful that I got rid of my TV. Oh my goodness, it's got to have been 5 years now since I've had a television. It's amazing. And I don't miss it in any way at all, right? I'm not looking to be entertained. I'm not looking to be entertained. I'm looking to ground in what's real, right? I'm looking to ground in, right, that movement that I want to make, right? And I want to meet people along the way that are trying to make the same kind of movement for themselves. Not exactly the same, right? Because only you know what kind of movement and what direction you want to go in, right? As long as you're going, right? Just has to be baby steps. It just can't be a thought. It just can't be something that, right, that you're laying on the couch and just staring off into space. There has to be that movement, and we have to be willing to try to make that movement. And that's why I do baby steps, because sometimes we're too stubborn in what we think we know. Sometimes, right, we're too steadfast in that lesson that we have absorbed in somebody else's movement. And we can get stuck there. We truly can get stuck there. That's why choices are there, right? So that we can feel like we are contributing to, right, that creation of the best human being we possibly can. It's just not something that's left to fate, right? I don't want to just be a bumper car bumping up from one car to a next, or one wall to a next, right? That's not healthy. In fact, that could probably, right, be a little bit damaging if we're just butting our heads up against a wall. And that could be devastating in a physical way, a mental way, right? An emotional way. It could put us in a state where we could just feel like, right, what's the point? And so we do the baby steps, but we do the baby steps, right? Moving, just not just being willing to move, but actually moving in that direction. I have my goals for the year, right? And I'm constantly, every day, moving towards them. Because if I'm not moving towards them, they'll never be realized. And I have some pretty amazing things on my goal list for this year, right? I'm not paying attention to the hairy, scary, right? I'm willing to apply myself to the lessons. Okay, let's see what Nancy's got to do. Yeah, so Nancy says, me too. I don't have a TV and I don't even miss it at all, right? And yeah, and when did you get rid of your TV, Nancy? It was, for me, it was pretty much, uh, well, I would have to say just before COVID started, I got rid of that TV. Now I've made up for it on YouTube. I've more than made up for it on YouTube. But YouTube is more of a community. There was no interaction when it came to the TV. The TV was just pure entertainment. In my choices in the content that I pick here on YouTube, I choose the lessons, right? I choose to have experiences too, living vicariously through others, putting myself in other people's shoes and looking at life in a different perspective, in a different landscape, and appreciating, right, that offering just like that person who's returning to his hometown, right? And he's picked up lessons along the way, and he's right, that story, cabbage soup. And if you've never heard that story, cabbage soup, I should tell that story again. It's one of my favorite stories, right? I tell stories, but I usually tell my own stories, right? I tell stories through my experiences, right? My goals, my ambitions, my dreams. But actually telling stories that, right, somebody else actually manifested, that somebody else dreamed up, but somebody dreamed it up as a lesson, right? The moral of the story, right? I'd like to understand what the moral of my story is, right? But those are in the movement, right? You're not just going to pick it up by laying on the couch with the remote control or even sitting at your desk, right? Taking in a great conversation or a great interview, right? A new insight, a new perspective. You're not going to see it there because we're so unique, right? Each of us are going to have our own experiences, our own conversations, our own adventures in our life, and they're all tied up with our hopes, our dreams, and our fears. And we are going to move with those, right? And all paths lead to, but we'll adapt and conquer, right? In a way that will make it as easy on us as we possibly can. And that's our nature. That's the human nature, right? The human nature also says, right? Skip the lessons if you can. Just get to the finish line, right? Just get to the finish line. I'm not skipping the lessons, right? And I know at the very least that the effort that I'm putting in is going to have to be enough in some aspects, right? For now, at least for the lesson that I am in right now, right? That one has to be completed until I can start rolling in to the next lesson. Okay. Okay, so uh Nancy says TV is so full of garbage these days. Well, if you really look at it, right? Those lessons everywhere, there's lots of. It's what we pay attention to. Because as much as the poopy stuff comes across my path, some amazing stuff comes across my path too, right? But it's going to be on our choices because I can go, right? And I can watch, oh my goodness, I could watch Logan Paul all day long, right? And I'm sure there's going to be lessons in that. But I think for the most part, the lessons he divvies out is in that, right? That everything's going to be okay. Let me entertain you. Nancy knows me well enough that I mix the entertainment with the lessons, right? Because it has to be digestible. It just has to be. Nobody's going to stick around, right? I I I take lessons from some very, well, I'm not going to say non-emotional, but in some ways I guess you can, because they take their craft very seriously, right? They take their craft very seriously. And so I take my lessons from them, but they're not entertaining me. They're not dancing and singing songs, but they've got my attention, Why they got my attention? Because they're right. They're making my life better. They're helping me to untangle my wires, right? They're helping me to better understand, right? They're helping me to recognize the evidence out there. And, you know, when I recognize the evidence, it makes me a little bit more willing, right? A little bit more willing to try something new. I've tried so many new things, and some things, right, that I've tried have helped me out so much. The simplest things, like waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I've been getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning, I have to say, for years now, right? At least 5 years. Set the alarm goes off. Sometimes I stay in bed for a half an hour. Sometimes, I'll sleep in, right? If I really feel like I need that extra sleep, or if I got woken up in the middle of the night and didn't get back to sleep. But on the whole, my sleeping habits have allowed me to, well, have a little bit of a routine for myself to begin, right? The routines. And even though my routines aren't locked in, totally locked in, that they're flexible, right? That they're malleable, and they are, and they will change, right? In the need that I have 100%. But it has served me well. And even today, 5 years later, I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Very rarely do I stay up past 12 or 12:30 at night. I'm in bed. I'm a dead sleeper. I'm a really, really good sleeper. I'm sure I'm off doing stuff, right? But Cindy is fast asleep. And when I get up in the morning, I am well rested. And if it should happen that I only get 4 hours sleep every once in a while, that's nothing, right? Because on the whole, I am a good sleeper. And I've always been a good sleeper, but that good sleeper part, right? Go to bed at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and sleep till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. When everybody else is winding down from their days, I'm just crawling out of bed. And I did that for decades, and it got me nowheres. It kept me safe, right? And it kept me, well, it kept me from others because, right, the world was shutting down when I was just getting ready for the day. So I didn't have a lot of time to mingle with others, right? My sleeping habits were always like the sleeping habits of the people that I surrounded myself. I was with the party crew. We were all up till all times in the middle of the night, right? And we all slept in all day long, right? Most of my friends were all drinkers and partiers, and probably, right, that hangover wouldn't even make it so they could be able to get out of bed till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But my willingness to try something new, and that was one of my very first lessons, was to get myself on a good sleep routine. It made all the difference. Now, I've been trying to I haven't even been trying, right? Because I can't be locked in that way 100%. I know it works, but it feels like entrapment. It feels like my freedom is being taken away. And even though a part of me understands that I need to be on a schedule, and the evidence has shown that a schedule works for me, works very, very well. And in some aspects, being on a schedule, right? Oh, maybe I need to be willing to try again. Maybe that's why I'm on this, is because I need to be willing to try again. Change is on the horizon for me, right? I'm rolling in to right, those goals that I've set for myself, right? I should have been moving in them, been moving in the planning stage, right? But that actual physical that I've just been talking about, right? You just can't think about it, that you actually have to have the movement at the same time, right? We're moving into that movement. But I've got to be very, very careful, right? Because I could talk myself out of it. I could be looking for the comfy, right? I set a goal for this Monday coming up. It's the full solar eclipse coming up. And I thought I'd take a bus, a random bus to a random park that had trails inside of the city. I can't get out of town, but what I can do is go for a little venture. And I thought I would go along the river in a old part of the city. That's right. It's an older part of the city, and but it's along the riverbank. And I thought I might walk the riverbank to see if maybe I can find a new bottle digging pit, because they're building a high rise or something on the spot that I was digging, and I had a perfect bottle dump from the early 1900s, right? And yeah, so I've lost that one, but right, possibly I could maybe, right, find another one. Plus, I thought maybe, right, a little bit of a connection with Mother Nature on solar eclipse day might find me on a bench looking up at the sun and the moon that's kind of getting in between the sun and the earth, and be able to, I don't know, have a moment maybe, right? It is in that contemplation, and it is in trusting in the lessons. But a lot of those lessons now are coming from, well, somebody that I'm trusting, right? Or at the very least, learning to trust in. And that's myself. I'm not saying I'm some kind of smart cookie or anything, because I'm not. I'm bumbling away, bumbling along just like everybody else is, right? But I am steadfast. I am steadfast in what I'm doing, and what I'm steadfast in, right? Gotta learn to be willing, right? Right? And not just pivot when things just start getting, right, too uncomfortable. Let's go try something else. Sometimes you just gotta adapt and conquer. Sometimes it's just never give up, right? Sometimes you just gotta hack away at it until you can finish the job, right? But just like yesterday when we were talking about willing, sometimes we have to be willing to be course corrected in that, right? Okay, Nancy, what are you yibber yabbering about? Cindy, the story of our lives is to live this life and learn the things we need to through hardship and through making mistakes. We need to keep going forward and never give up with a without a good fight. That's absolutely beautiful, Nancy. That is absolutely beautiful. And not only is that absolutely beautiful, that is absolutely the truth, right? Stay on our own paths. Take in your lessons. Work with your lessons. Overcome your lessons, right? And guess what? More lessons will be coming. But that's a good thing, because that's just movement, right? And I think that's what we're expected to be doing, is, right, just that keeping going, right? Keep adapting and conquering and riding the waves. Be willing to take a helping hand when it's being offered, right? Right? Take those kindnesses in. Reflect on those kindnesses. Because there's been so many kindnesses in my life that I didn't even acknowledge, right? Because I didn't even understand that they were kindnesses, that possibly I took them as expectations, right? Or maybe I just took them in as somebody meddling, which would probably, that sounds very much like me, right? At one point. Right now, though, I feel like I would be willing, right, to take in a new lesson. I think I would be willing to let go of some of my ideas if there were better ideas, right? Truer ideas, ones that resonated with me more. But you're 100%, Nancy. It is all in the lessons. And like, seriously, you signed up for that, Nancy? Do you think you signed up for that life? Or do the lessons come at you and you just, right, just keep hacking away at them? Like, I don't understand, Nancy, that how some people can get more lessons than others, how some people can struggle more than others, and yet still, right, like our Nancy, pop up like a jack in a box, right? Like a jack in a box. Your willingness, Nancy. What's your willingness, Nancy, when it comes to those hits that you take in your life? What's your willingness? I'd like to know what your willingness is. Oh, there she does, says it right there. Be a jack in a box. Okay. I could be a good sleeper too, although today I woke up from a nap laughing. Oh my goodness, isn't that amazing? You woke up laughing? I don't know. Sometimes I wake up and I'm drooling. That's I'm laughing because it's true. These little drool marks on my pillowcase. That's because I sleep with my mouth open. I think I don't know why, but sometimes I do drool. Okay, I could be a good sleeper too. Although today I woke up from a nap laughing. No joke. I dreamed I was dancing in my chair to my favorite Shania Twain song. Lol, it was hilarious. It was like I was watching a video and dancing along. Lol, one dream I don't think I'll ever forget. Really? Really? Nancy, that's beautiful. I sometimes have flying dreams, but when you said you were dancing, like, were you all actually up on your legs and you were dreaming that you were up on your legs and dancing away, Nancy? Nancy's in a wheelchair for those of you who are just popping in now or have never met our Nancy here. Nancy's one of my moderators on my Chatters Live on Sunday night. If you ever want to pop in, we have the most amazing crew, the most amazing conversations there on Sundays. But okay, I'm coming back into Nancy's comments. We never sign up for it. We are forced to come to Earth and be born to go through life as it comes. Oh, oh my goodness, forced to come to Earth. I don't know. And why are we forced to come to Earth, Nancy? Why do you think? Can you tell me why you think we might be forced to come to Earth? I'd be curious about that, right? Because I don't know. You couldn't pry me, right? Tooth and nail, I would fight all the way, right? I am earthbound forever. I would like to think I'm earthbound forever. I think life is amazing, but I can see how the woes, the difficulties, the illnesses, the struggles that we have, that they can put a damper in being able to enjoy life. But you've always found ways to enjoy your life, Nancy, right? Right? So yeah, it makes me curious. Hi, Melvin. Hi, Melvin, dear. I am up late today. I have been in little projects. I started my donation bags for my bedroom closet today. I made a donation bag with full of all my inspirational coffee mugs. They're all going back to work, and I'm going to price them all at $2.50 because I took all the best coffee mugs. I have them all. And I've taken coffee mugs, redonated them to work, but I've got a big bag that I'm going to redonate this week, and we'll put some good tags on that, make some money for my work, right? They were filling up my cupboards and filling up my counter. They had to go. I'm going to try and minimalize a little bit my household. But thank you, Melvin, for popping into the live there. Oh my goodness. So I was in my chair. That's why I thought it was funny. We are born law. We are here, so we have to go through life law. They say when we are where we are before birth, we couldn't wait to come to earth and live this crazy life. Oh, okay. So it's in that repeat, right? That tiredness of coming back, that tiredness of being pulled in. I don't know. I think you're something magnificent, Nancy. I truly think and believe that you are a gift to this world, and you hold a lot of light for a lot of people. You hold a lot of light for me, Nancy. You're so kind-hearted in your struggles, right? I wish that I could do it as graciously, and I'd like to think I do it graciously, but oh my goodness, I am not taking hits like you're taking hits, Nancy. Like, definitely. But again, like I said, it's in our experiences that's going to make it so that, well, we either want to try or we're willing to try or we're not willing to try, right? And I guess me and Nancy, we got those lessons that said, never give up, find a way, right? Be willing to be course corrected, right? Be willing to admit that you're wrong. Be willing to try again. Be willing to pivot. Be willing to forgive. Willing to keep moving, right? Just be willing to keep moving, and just in those baby steps and just moving, even if you can't even see the movement, but you're moving, right? Just little movements, maybe periodical movements. It's still movement, right? And that's how I look at it. And if I've got it wrong, ah, it's going to hurt, just like Nancy says, in taking in the lessons, right? I'm willing to get the lesson that would give me a better footing in what I'm doing. And I take my lessons from lots of different sources. And I'm willing to take the lessons from all different sources because I see in the evidence that those lessons come from lots of different sources. Okay, you guys, let's tie it up here. Uh, oh, you always forgive. Isn't that something that me and you have that trait? I always thought sometimes, especially recently, that that idea of forgiveness might have been my downfall, right? But it's forgiveness would only have been my downfall if I had stepped into that pit after getting that lesson, right? After getting that lesson, we get the lessons and we work with the lessons, right? And I forgive still, right? I do lots of forgiving, lots. But in forgiving, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be that target, right? That I am going to be that what do you call that? Whipping boy or scapegoat, right? I'm not going to be that sucker, right? That's going to get, I don't know, kind of sucked into it, right? That's happened my entire life. I thought I was a smart cookie that way. I thought, right, that I got people, that I understood people. But the thing is, sometimes we're not looking for the trip ups, right? In where we trust, in where we believe, in, right? In creating the best human being we possibly can. We can put our trust in places, right, that maybe we shouldn't. And we did, right? Why? Because we have those big hearts. And that's not a bad thing, right? Sometimes it's just a little bit of a course correction. Sometimes it's just moving with those feelings, right? Moving with those feelings. Sometimes we have to, right, just hold off and stand off from what we'd like to mix with because we know it makes us feel uncomfortable or it makes the other party character uncomfortable when we mix together. And there's got to be a lesson in that. That's a lesson I took in this week and kind of recognizing some of that patterning that goes on in my life, right? Making those realizations that as much as people sometimes made me feel uncomfortable, I probably made others feel just as uncomfortable. And that's a truth that I have to be willing to look at, right? That I'm a contributor to my own story. I wouldn't I wouldn't be here if I wasn't a contributor. I have to be that contributor, right? This is my project, right? Just like that's your project. Okay, here, let's tie it up like I said a few minutes ago. Uh we don't forgive and give ourselves a chance to move on, then we are stuck and can't move on because I remember the words of Heavenly Father. He said, if you don't forgive others, I won't forgive you. Right? Oh my goodness. That is deep, Nancy. I've never heard that one before. If you don't forgive others, I won't forgive you. Wow. Right? So I guess you forgive. Do you forget? There's another question for you. I don't want to be in the next time. I don't want to be in the next time. And I know that I want to be forgiven because I didn't forgive when I was alive. Oh, really? Wow. Forgiveness, I was a tough bird on that, right? I was, you get what you give. And anybody gave me something that went against my grain, I would give the same back if at all possible. There was a time. It burnt out of me pretty fast by the time I hit my 20s. I just kind of accepted my state in life, right? And I became a little bit of a carpet for others to be wiping their shoes on, right? And again, it is in the lessons. And I did forgive all of those, but I have to get forgiven a way that I have to understand. It's just in their evolution, right? I haven't been talking about the evolution as much. I'm going to send some good cheer. We got a fire truck going by. Got a fire truck going by. Let's wish it to be a false alarm. They're going to turn around, get right back to the station, and go, oh my goodness, it happened again. Because Cindy was home for her days off, this set of days off again. And I've caught every single fire truck that has gone off on a call. So yeah, they're having a week of nothing going on. I'm optimistic in the very least. Okay, you guys. Next time, lol, next life. No, no, Cindy. And that's why kids end up with that thought, lol. One wrong doesn't make it right for us to do it back. Right? That was my dad always used to say, two wrongs don't make a right. He used to say that to me all the time. Two wrongs don't make a right. But two halves make a whole. I don't know why I said that. There's a reason. Two halves make a whole, but two wrongs don't make a right. Ah, I got the lesson in that one. I got the lesson in that one. You won't get it, but I got it. Okay, you guys. And do we forget? No, but it depends on the severeness of it. Yeah, I usually don't move in with that which bites. I have to see a true asking of forgiveness. At the very least, I have to see a true recognition of what was done against me. You know what I mean? That I need to know that somebody knows when they've done something wrong, right? Because then it gives me the idea to say, okay, fine, that was their choice. I don't have to be around them, right? But at the same time, forgiveness, it can be offered in a way that you can stay with that which hurts you, right? Because if that character is getting a lesson themselves, if they're willing, right, to take in the lesson, they might come out of it with a different perspective. And because you allowed that space, you allowed that moment to forgive, that it might open up to a gift, right? And that has been my experience in my life, right? I had best worst enemies turn into best friends, right? I've had, right, a mother who never gave much care into my upbringing, but in passing, we were able to make a connection in that word forgiveness 100%. Now, if I thought that character was coming back, right? That my mother passed away and she got another chance to come back, that maybe through the lessons that she's coming back a better person with a better understanding of where she got it wrong. And because we had that moment of forgiveness, there is a chance. There is that maybe we could continue on in that movement forward. But unless I get that ask for understanding, right? That ask of an opportunity to explain or that ask for forgiveness, right? I probably won't be around it. I'll probably be quite standoffish. And at the very least, I will have all kinds of bricks and boundaries and chicken wire and right to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Sometimes it's just easier just to move away from that, right? Who wants to live a life, right? Some people say, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to have that negativity, that fear, that hypervigilance in your life like that, right? To be able to feel like you're just constantly walking on glass, checking around corners, looking for the boogeyman to jump out behind the counter, looking to be stabbed in the back again, right? Forgiveness offers opportunities, right? In that moment when it comes across your path. And to each one of us, I guess it's in our choices in forgiveness, how we forgive, right? How we forgive and whether or not to, right, truly forgive, because I know in some of those instances in my life where I actually forgive, I ended up the winner in that relationship, right? Because I was willing to, right, stay soft in that instead of building up those bricks and putting the chicken wire around it. Okay, you guys. That's my good cheer. We'll see each other tomorrow. Going to finish my coffee, taking a lesson. Oh my goodness. That's a nice way to end it with that one. The enemy needs to be prayed for so they are given the hope of changing someday, right? And everybody's going to get there. When? Well, to each one of us, it's going to be a little bit different, but I truly believe we're all going to get there. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you guys for popping in.